Hello, everybody. Good morning. That is a good cup of Joe. Hope you all are having a wonderful morning today, this Sunday morning, and the Lord has blessed us with another day here. Um, I want to go through 7 different signs or miracles that Jesus performed that shows his divine authority. Okay, and these are 7 signs or 7 miracles. And first of all, I'm in the book of John. I want to go to chapter 2. And I want to read verses 1 through 11. This is the first miracle. On the 3rd day, there was a wedding in Cana of Galilee, and the mother of Jesus was there. And both Jesus and his disciples were invited to the wedding. When the wine ran out, the mother of Jesus said to him, "They have no wine." And Jesus said to her, "Woman, what does that have to do with us? My hour has not yet come." His mother said to the servants, "Whatever he says to you, do it." Now there were 6 stone water pots set there for the Jewish custom of purification, containing 20 or 30 gallons each. Each one of those 6 water pots contained 20 to 30 gallons. These are huge water pots, okay? And he said to them, "Draw some out now and take it." It says, Jesus said to them, "Fill the water pots with water," in verse 7. So they filled them up to the brim. So these water pots that held 20 or 30 gallons each were filled right to the brim. They're huge, okay? And he said to them, Jesus, "Draw some out now and take it to the head waiter." So they took it to him. When the head waiter tasted the water, which had become wine, and did not know where it came from, but the servants who had drawn the water knew, the head waiter called the bridegroom and said to him, "Every man serves the good wine first, and when the people have drunk freely, then he serves the poorer wine, but you have kept the good wine until now." This beginning of his signs Jesus did in Cana of Galilee, and manifested his glory, and his disciples believed in him. When he did that very first miracle, and they all witnessed that, the disciples believed in him because he manifested his glory, because he was God, and that was manifesting his glory. Now let's go to, staying in the book of John, go to chapter 4, going to read verses 46 through 54. So that was the first miracle. We're going to go to the second miracle. Okay, 46 through 54. John 4. Therefore he came again to Cana of Galilee, where he had made the water wine. And there was a royal official whose son was sick at Capernaum. Okay. When he heard that Jesus had come out of Judea into Galilee, he went to him and was imploring him to come down and heal his son, for he was at the point of death. So Jesus said to him, "Unless you people see signs and wonders, you simply will not believe." The royal official said to him, "Sir, come down before my child dies." Jesus said to him, "Go, your son lives." The man believed the word that Jesus spoke to him and started off back to be with his son. So right there and then, Jesus healed his son. That's the second miracle. Go, your son lives. Didn't even have to go to the son. He already knew what this man needed before he requested it. Okay. As the man was now going down, his slaves met him, saying that his son was living. So he inquired of them the hour when he began to get better. Then they said to him, "Yesterday at the 7th hour, the fever left him." Notice that number 7, the 7th hour. We know that the number 7, biblical number 7, is a number of perfection. Okay, it's a number of it's like a number of It's a perfect number, okay? So in the 7th hour, um, the fever left the man's son, okay? So the father knew that it was at that hour in which Jesus said to him, "Your son lives," and he himself believed, and his whole household. So that man and his whole household believed upon Jesus after that miracle. And verse 54, this is again a second sign that Jesus performed when he had come out of Judea into Galilee. It's amazing. Okay, now let's go to John chapter 5 and read 1 through 15. This is the third miracle. After these things, there was a feast of the Jews, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. Now there is in Jerusalem by the sheep gate a pool, which is called in Hebrew Bethesda, having 5 porticos. In these lay a multitude of those who were sick, blind, lame, withered, waiting for the moving of the waters. Okay? For an angel of the Lord went down at certain seasons into the pool and stirred up the water. Whoever then first after the stirring up the water stepped in what was made well from whatever after the stirring up of the water, whoever it was that stepped in was made well from whatever disease with which he was afflicted. So these waters were purification waters, just like we read in chapter 4, or chapter 2, I'm sorry, talking about the stone where the water that was used for purification in those stone containers or whatever. That's the same thing here, that this pool was actually, when the angel of the Lord came down and stirred it up, it was purifying and healing the sick. Okay. Verse 5, a man was there who had been ill for 38 years. When Jesus saw him lying there and knew that he had already been a long time in that condition, he said to him, "Do you wish to get well?" The sick man answered him, "Sir, I have no man to put me into the pool when the water is stirred up. But while I am coming, another steps down before me." So he keeps getting, cut off from going into the pool, and whoever goes in there first, when the water's stirred up, gets healed. So he kept missing out on this healing. Okay. Verse 8, Jesus said to him, "Get up, pick up your pallet and walk." Okay, or your bed. Okay. Verse 9, immediately the man became well and picked up his pallet and began to walk. Now it was the Sabbath on that day, so the Jews were saying to the man who was cured, "It is the Sabbath, and it is not permissible for you to carry your pallet." In verse 11, but he answered them, "He who made me well was the one who said to me, 'Pick up your pallet and walk,' or your bed." They asked him, "Who is this man who said to you, 'Pick up your pallet or your bed and walk'?" Verse 13, but the man who was healed did not know who it was, for Jesus had slipped away while there was a crowd in that place. Afterward, Jesus found him in the temple and said to him, "Behold, you have become well. Do not sin anymore, so that nothing worse happens to you." Okay? He told the man, don't sin anymore, so nothing worse happens to you. Okay? The man went away and told the Jews that it was Jesus who had made him well. Okay? Now let's go to John chapter 6. So that was the fourth miracle. Now let's go to chapter 6, and we'll look at the sixth miracle. Chapter 6 in John, verses 5 through 14. Therefore Jesus, lifting up his eyes and seeing that a large crowd was coming to him, said to Philip, "Where are we to buy bread so so that these may eat. This he was saying to test him, for he himself knew what he was intending to do. He was testing Philip. Philip answered him, 200 denarii worth of bread is not sufficient for them, for every one to receive a little. One of his disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, said to him, there is a lad here who had 5 barley loaves and 2 fish, but what are these for so many people? Jesus said, have the people sit down. Now there was much grass in the place, so the men sat down, in number about 5,000. About 5,000 people. Okay. Jesus then took the loaves, and having given thanks, he distributed to those who were seated, likewise also of the fish as much as they wanted. When they were filled, he said to his disciples, gather up the leftover fragments so that nothing will be lost. And so they gathered them up and filled 12 baskets with fragments. Just the fragments, they filled 12 baskets from the 5 barley loaves, which were left over by those who had eaten. Therefore, when the people saw the sign which he had performed, they said, this is truly the prophet who is to come into the world. Okay, this was the Savior, the Messiah that was prophesied to come into the world. So they knew who he was. Okay, now let's go to, we'll keep going, and now we'll go 16. Stay in John chapter 6, and we'll look at 16 through 21. Okay. All right. Now when evening came, his disciples went down to the sea, and after getting into a boat, they started to cross the sea to Capernaum. It had already become dark, and Jesus had not yet come to them. Okay. The sea began to be stirred up because a strong wind was blowing. Then when they had rowed about 3 or 4 miles, they saw Jesus walking on the sea and drawing near to the boat, and they were frightened. But he said to them, it is I, do not be afraid. So they were willing to receive him into the boat, and immediately the boat was at the land which they were going. So, amazing. So that was the 5th sign or miracle. Now let's look at the 6th one. Let's go to John chapter 9 and verses 1 through 7. As he passed by, he saw a man blind from birth, and his disciples asked him, Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he would be born blind? So they're talking about like a generational curse, okay? Jesus answered, it was neither that this man sinned nor his parents, but it was so that the works of God might be displayed in him. We must work the works of him who sent me as long as it is day. Night is coming when no one can work. Okay. Verse 5, while I am in the world, I am the light of the world. So while he is in the world, this is God himself manifested into the body of flesh. Okay. While I am in the world, I am the light of the world. Okay. When he had said this, he spat on the ground, made clay of the spittle. Okay. And applied the clay to his eyes, or anointed the eyes of the blind man, okay, with the clay. Verse 7, and said to him, go wash in the pool of Siloam, which is translated sent. So he went away and washed and came back seeing, okay. So that is the 6th sign or miracle showing the divine authority. Now let's go to chapter 11 in John. This is the last one, the 7th one. I'm going to read verses 1 through 45. Now a certain man was sick, Lazarus of Bethany, the village of Mary and her sister Martha. It was the Mary who anointed the Lord with ointment and wiped his feet with her hair, whose brother Lazarus was sick. Okay, so the sisters sent word to him, saying, Lord, behold, he whom you love is sick. But when Jesus heard this, he said, This sickness is not to end in death, but for the glory of God, so that the Son of God may be glorified by it. Now Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus. So when he heard that he was sick, he then stayed 2 days longer in the place where he was. Then after this, he said to the disciples, Let us go to Judea again. The disciples said to him, Rabbi, the Jews were just seeking to stone you, and you are going there again? Jesus answered, Are there not 12 hours in the day? If anyone walks in the day, he does not stumble, because he sees the light of this world. Okay, if you walk in the light, you will not stumble. It's figurative speech. Okay, parable. But if anyone walks in the night, he stumbles because the light is not in him. The light of Christ. You walk in the Spirit, which God is Spirit. Jesus Christ is God. You walk in that light. He is the light of the world. You walk in that light. You walk in the Spirit. You will not stumble. You'll be able to see. You won't be in the night, in the darkness, lost, okay, and stumble. All right. This he said, and after that he said to them, Our friend Lazarus has fallen asleep, but I go, so that I may awaken him out of sleep. The disciples then said to him, Lord, if he has fallen asleep, he will recover. Now Jesus had spoken of his death, but they thought that he was speaking of literal sleep. So Jesus then said to them plainly, Lazarus is dead, and I am glad for your sakes that I was not there, so that you may believe. But let us go to him. Therefore Thomas, who is called Didymus, said to his fellow disciples, Let us also go, so that we may die with him. So when Jesus came, he found that he had already been in the tomb 4 days. Now Bethany was near Jerusalem, about 2 miles off, and many of the Jews had come to Martha and Mary to console them concerning their brother. Martha, therefore, when she heard that Jesus was coming, went to meet him, and Mary stayed at the house. Martha then said to Jesus, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. Even now I know that whatever you ask of God, God will give you. Jesus said to her, Your brother will rise again. So, Martha said to him, I know that he will rise again in the resurrection on the last day. Jesus said to her, I am the resurrection and the life. He who believes in me will live, and even if he does die. And everyone who lives and believes in me will never die. Do you believe this? She said to him, Yes, Lord. I have believed that you are the Christ, the Son of God, even he who comes into the world. He's even he who comes into the world. When she had said this, she went away and called Mary, her sister, saying secretly, The teacher is here and is calling for you. And when she heard it, she got up quickly and was coming to him. Now Jesus had not yet come into the village, but was still in the place where Martha met him. Verse 31, Then the Jews who were with her in the house and consoling her, when they saw that Mary got up quickly and went out, they followed her, supposing that she was going to the tomb to weep there, cry there. Okay. Therefore, when Mary came where Jesus was, she saw him and fell at his feet, saying to him, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. When Jesus therefore saw her weeping, and the Jews who came with her also weeping, he was deeply moved in spirit and was troubled, and said, Where have you laid him? They said to him, Lord, come and see. Jesus wept. Jesus cried. So the Jews were saying, See how he loved him? But some of them said, could not this man who opened the eyes of the blind man have kept this man also from dying? So Jesus, again, being deeply moved within, came to the tomb. Now it was a cave, and a stone was lying against it. Jesus said, remove the stone. Martha, the sister of the deceased, said to him, Lord, by this time there will be a stench, for he has been been dead for 4 days. Jesus said to her, do I not say to you that if you believe, you will see the glory of God? So they removed the stone. Then Jesus raised his eyes and said, Father, I thank you that you have heard me. I knew that you always hear me, but because of the people standing around, I said it, so that they may believe that you sent me. Okay. When he had said these things, he cried out with a loud voice, Lazarus, come forth. The man who had died came forth, bound hand and foot with wrappings, and his face was wrapped around with a cloth. Jesus said to them, unbind him and let him go. Therefore many of the Jews who came to Mary and saw that he had done believed in him. Okay, so there's your 7 miracles that shows Jesus Christ and his divine authority, and just beautiful. So hope you all had a wonderful day today, and God bless you.